Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Gilliland, attorney blogger on Bowtie Law, and with Jessica Meterson on The Legal Geeks. I'm here today with Jason Krause from Nextpoint to talk about legal issues for 2014. Jason, how you doing?
Pretty good. Getting warmer. It was a high of, I think it was about -16 yesterday. So we're up to about 28 degrees. So it's kind of exciting.
You're above zero. I'm happy to hear that. I mean, when you go outside, is it like going out into Hoth? Do you have your face covered and the gloves and the moon suit, or is it?
If I was smarter, I was going outside for longer. The important thing is my car started this morning.
That's good. That's good.
Life's little victory for today.
It's sunny and clear in the San Francisco Bay Area, so you're welcome to visit. So.
Yeah, I figured you'd find a way to sneak that in.
It's always sunny in California. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I was going to point the camera out the window so you could see the lake, but I think the glare from the ice and the snow would have blinded people. So
I'm sorry you're living in that. It'll be nice in summer. It'll be very nice in summer.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about. We have the new year, and we've taken time to reflect on the legal issues in 2013. But what do you think we're going to see in 2014 in the practice of law?
Well, from our perspective, I know there's a lot of technology trends people want to hear about. Predictive coding's been a hot topic for a long time. But I think the thing I'd really like to talk about is a trend that I think has to happen, and that's that eDiscovery has to become more affordable for small to mid-sized law firms. It's not just a practical issue, but it's a moral issue too, because we're talking about access to justice and the functioning. It's the proper functioning of our legal system. 2013 was a bad year. I mean, it's been a bad decade really for big law in particular, and a lot of law firms. In the past decade, I think the figures is like 12 major law firms with about 1,000 partners collapsed entirely, disappeared from the face of the earth. So it's clear that the business of law is evolving, and big law is always going to be the cornerstone of the legal industry. But there's a lot of business that the small and mid-sized law firms simply have to pick up the slack, and are going to be a lot more involved in important pieces of litigation. But the eDiscovery pricing in particular has always been sort of designed for the large law firm, and it still is just not affordable or practical for a lot of smaller firms to effectively have an eDiscovery practice. And that's had a real cost has been one reason that the jury trial is simply disappearing. I've blogged about this a fair amount on the Nextpoint blog, but the statistics are actually kind of hard to find. But if you take a look at the federal court statistics, the past decade, a lot of types of trials are just simply disappearing. I put together a little chart that we can take a look at, but if you just look at the total number of civil cases from 2002 to 2012, it's just been a 10% decline, and that's a trend that's a decline from the height in the 1960s when there were just a lot more civil trials in the United States overall. And if you look across a lot of other important areas, contract, civil rights, labor law, real property, there's just been an absolute collapse in the number of trials. And that's a real serious issue for our country, because it's not just an issue for lawyers who aren't getting the fees. It's an issue that people are not going to court and not getting the justice that they likely deserve. And it's I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it's important to the functioning of our democracy.
I agree with you. For the past, since 2005, 2006, a lot of the eDiscovery companies, I don't knock a company for wanting to make a profit. That's the point of being in business.
Right.
And that's a good thing. We want people to be in business. But when you look at how eDiscovery companies were positioning themselves, wanting massive monthly hosting fees, thinking that they could make 20 grand a month from one client, that everything is monster litigation and everything is a Fortune 10 company suing another Fortune 10 company, and that's the way that it's just going to work out. It ignored over 90% of litigation in this case by focusing on a tiny percentage of litigation in the country, and that ain't right. You could go hang out and watch the case management conferences, I think, at any courthouse. And when you look at the value of those cases, it's not Enron getting sued, or BP for an oil spill or anything like that. It's somebody who got hurt, who got into a car crash, or it's probate. There are all these things that people litigate about. That's just normal life. And you can't tell the solo practitioner, oh yeah, it's going to be $7,000 a month to host your data,
mm-hmm.
And just pass it on to grandma who got hit by a car. I mean, that's grandma doesn't have that. They're and they're trying to do probably reasonable fees at an hourly rate, so people aren't having $20,000 monthly bills to a solo.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's easy to criticize a lot of small firm lawyers. A lot of times we talk about how we point out the fact that a lot of small firm lawyers are still ignorant of a lot of the eDiscovery rules, but sometimes that it's almost a practical stance, because when you're dealing with a $50,000 or $100,000 case, you probably don't want to get involved with the eDiscovery issues, because they know that the bill going out to an eDiscovery vendor would be, $50,000. That would destroy the value of taking a lot of types of litigation.
But there are issues with, all right, we know your client has a computer, and after grandma got hit by the car, there were emails with the insurance carrier. She scanned her doctor bills, and there's that material on the computer that needs to be preserved. And
Yep.
being able to go, here's how you can do it, and to do it for $500, and then being able to go, we're going to be able to host these probably 100 relevant files on a review platform. That'd be affordable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, as a software provider, we're very committed to the cloud as a platform, and I'm not going to beat that drum too much, but obviously we believe that cloud software makes eDiscovery a lot more affordable to more people. But there's also a lot of things that lawyers can do early on in a case. As long as they're aggressive and smart and savvy about things early on, they don't need to be scared of eDiscovery. I think every lawyer should take a look at the Sedona Conference's cooperation proclamation. I think that's a great document, and it's been endorsed by a lot of really, really smart judges. I think I've blogged about this also, but there's a lot of things you can do early on to control the costs of eDiscovery without giving up your rights to perform more broad discovery later on in the case if you start to find a lot of relevant electronic documents. So that's things like doing a phased discovery plan, which means you can limit the initial collections as long as you agree that you can expand discovery later on as documents become obvious. I believe it's important to identify the scope of your challenge early, and use culling and filtering to aggressively manage data collections if you've got a large data set that you're trying to winnow down to something that's manageable.
Yeah, and it also requires knowing how to do the client interview. To go, how do you use technology? Do you have a smartphone? Do you have a tablet? Is everything this gets weird, because like the Microsoft operating systems on their tablets, over 70% of the data is in a Microsoft cloud, which creates preservation challenges. Friends at Paraben came up with a way to attack that, but others need to figure that out. Like, how do you get that when the device is a portal to a cloud, and you don't want to deal with third-party requests and small litigation to get stuff? So those are worthwhile issues to talk about.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of important questions you've got to ask. I know, large firms and large corporations have been thinking about information governance for a long time, but you got to think about these issues on a small scale. If you're talking to a small, local company, find out, what devices, Bob, the sales guy is taking out of the office when he leaves, and where, what, how Sally, the secretary, manages, the Excel file, spreadsheets.
Yeah, and Plaintiff Pete, on how they live. There's just basics, being able to go, what kind of social media do you use? And then going like, well, is that even relevant to the case? And so there are the proportionality issues, but it's understanding what the client has before a depot. I mean, so that way you can make sure it's been preserved, and if there's something out there that hurts your case, you know about it. If there's something that helps you, you know about it, so you can smack the other side with it. So, but I mean, that boils down to education.
Yep.
So, but I was on a conference call. I'm doing an event with the Bar Association at the end of January about business litigation and a case law update. And we got a state court judge on it. And he talked about a case on our planning call where the requesting party had 400 requests to the other side. And I wasn't sure if that was just getting hyperserial, litigation, or if it was truly complex civil lit and they needed to ask 400, or they didn't know what they were doing and they're swinging wildly because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, there are three options on why that's happening. And two of them can be mitigated with education. If you know what they ask for, you probably don't need 400 requests.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm guessing option number 3 is probably what was happening there, but
it's a good bet.
Yeah.
I'm not involved. I don't know, but that frequently happens. So
yeah.
Well, so let's talk about the solutions to this. You mentioned cloud solutions, but how can clouds help people?
Well, the important thing about cloud software is that it reduces the IT spend that you're going, for any small law firm. The big law firms have a dedicated IT department. They've probably got a couple guys down in the basement who are managing servers and managing uptime. The important thing about cloud software is you only pay for exactly what you need, and it's available on demand. So as soon as a matter hits, you can go log in, you can sign up, and you can start uploading documents to start working, and you just pay for the exact resources you need, as opposed to, a large law firm that can afford to have a big, concordance and summation installation that they have, 3 or 4 people in-house managing all the time. That's just obviously not practical for a small law firm. So a small law firm, you have no software to maintain the rest of the year until you get that big matter that's, going to make your year.
I would encourage attorneys to not wait for the big one, for the first time using it. That if they got one that's like, hey, this one has 100 pieces of evidence that we need to review. That's that comes from the discovery. Use that, test it out. And so it's like training wheels on a bike that you can have. It's like, wow, one little PST, and it gave me 100 emails, and we're going to review the native file, and we'll TIFF, what we need to. That's a great way to learn. And I would encourage lawyers to not wait for a giant monster where the database can be really, really intimidating. But start with it's like, this is a little one. There's a probate challenge and a few emails, and okay, it's not huge. We can deal with this.
Yeah, and obviously we agree. We have dedicated Nextpoint Select pricing plans that you can get up and running with. Includes all the training and support that you're going to need to manage a case.
So if people wanted to talk to you guys about cloud solutions, are you going to have any folks at Legal Tech?
We'll definitely be there. In fact, I know that our CEO Rakesh Madhava is going to be there. He's a great guy to talk to. I encourage anyone going to Legal Tech to get in touch with us and look him up and see if you can connect. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk to anyone. Even if you're if you're just trying to get a handle on eDiscovery and wrap your arms around how this thing works,
I've only interacted with him over Twitter and email. I haven't met him in person. That's a goal. That's a goal. I enjoy his tweets, but I need to meet him face to face one of these days. So
all right, I'll see if I can get you guys together for coffee or something.
That'd be groovy. So final question, since we are at the dawn of a new year, we got lots of movies coming out in 2014. What one are you really looking forward to seeing?
Well, I don't know when people are going to be watching this video, but I think right now the movie Her is about to open, which is actually kind of perfect for our conversation because it's sort of an interesting futurist look at the way humans and technology interact, and I'm very curious about that. I'm also really curious about the set design and the costumes because it's set, I think, pretty far in the future. But I know the interesting thing Joaquin Phoenix seems to have a nice, well-groomed mustache from looks like a 1970s mustache. And he's got 1940s pants that sort of come up halfway up his waist. So I'm not sure if I agree with the futurist vision of fashion, but I think their approach to technology is kind of interesting. I'd love to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm a little creeped out if your operating system turns into your best friend / romantic interest. I mean, I spend enough time with my phone as is. I don't want a relationship with the phone. It's a little disturbing on some levels.
No, unfortunately, it does. A lot of people do seem to be heading in that direction. So.
Yeah, it's granted it was Scarlett Johansson's voice, but I would. That's still wrong. Still bothers me.
Yeah.
Try talking to a real person. But anyway, I agree. I think it has some great eDiscovery overtones to it. I'm really looking forward to the Captain America Winter Soldier because that will have an NSA theme, I think, to it, and so which is that was a great way to teach everyone about location metadata in 2013. I think we'll get to play more with that. Well, excellent. Well, Jason, stay warm. I hope you don't have to cut open a tauntaun at some point. Really look forward to seeing you soon.
Excellent. Thanks again, Josh.
Anytime. You take care. Thank you, everyone.